All right, let's get this going here. Make sure you guys can see me. Yep, looks like I'm popping up on the different systems. You guys should be able to hear me, so that's good too. I just want to, this is a kind of quicker stream earlier on a Saturday. I figured I'd hop on, do a little bit of a couple of configurations, and then also show you guys another way to learn things, right? Like there's a lot of ways to commit things into your brain, and one of the ones that I find valuable is to draw out my architectures as I do these different pieces. So this first lab we're going to do is NFS connections. We did this one the other day, but now there's going to be a little bit of a twist to it. So I'm going to pull this up, and I will link this to you guys here in a second. So here's the lab we're doing. I will put it over on the YouTube side for people that want it, and I will pin it on the Twitch side for people that need it over here. Hey, Kurt Killer, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Let me pull that up. Okay, so that's a lab if anybody wants it. You guys are free to use the book here. The book is also over there on LeanPub if anybody wants to go get it. I'm not really pushing that super hard for anybody, but I think it's valuable because it's got some extra questions. But let's do the first part. We're going to set this all up, and then once we set it up, we're going to look through the questions, answer some questions, maybe figure some stuff out, and then we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to actually pull up a configuration drawing, and we're going to draw out the different pieces of this. Also, I'm going to fix this so that doesn't keep happening. Let me see here. I think if I move up just a little bit, and if I move that up just a little bit, it doesn't do that anymore. There we go. All right, yeah. I thought I had the chroma all perfect, but it looks like, oh, maybe it's that fan. Turn the fan over here on me. Okay, good. Yeah, that looks better. All right. So let's do this. Let's start with actually setting up NFS. If you've never done it before, it's kind of a good, valuable little thing. We also have another lab that shows you how to do this with Ansible once you've done all the individual pieces. So let's start out. Your team has determined they need to use NFS to facilitate file system access across multiple servers from one central location. We've talked about this before. There's a lot of reasons to use NFS. There's a lot of valid things that can happen there. So we're going to share out, so we'll deploy the NFS server on node 01. Yep, node 01's there. We're going to share out a file system called /share to any system that wants to connect to it. And then we're going to verify that it's being shared out. That's the first step of this lab, or the first set of steps. So we connect over there, good. And we're going to check the NFS packages. There's no NFS packages on this box. So then we're going to apply an install. So we'll do an app-y install for NFS kernel server. And this will install all the packages that are required for NFS server to run, right? That's kind of a basic little thing, kind of simple setup. Sometimes packages are going to be part of the base that comes with the OS. Sometimes you're going to have to go add new repositories. Sometimes you're just going to have to download and compile code. There's a bunch of different ways to get code onto a Linux system. One of the, I want to say the best, but let's put it this way. One of the most supportable ways to do it is have it come through like a base package repository like this, meaning NFS kernel server is part of the distro. It's coming down through the normal distribution channels, and it is probably going to be updated through those channels. That becomes really important later on when we start scanning for vulnerabilities with different tools, or watching our CVEs and making sure that we don't have any major vulnerabilities in our organization. We could do that manually, right? You can go read the NIST common vulnerability and exploits database yourself. You don't need a third party to do that for you. It's just what kind of effort does your company have to do that and keep track of all your stuff, right? Most people use like third parties like Tenable or CrowdStrike. You know, those are big ones. Tenable runs Nessus, and then CrowdStrike is your Falcon sensor and that kind of stuff. Hey, Srinath over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Yeah, we're just going through this, and then we're going to draw a little bit and practice our, you know, what did we do, and help us to remember this. So, all right, so we're just going through the steps here. We've installed the server. We can check, and we can see that the service, NFS-server service, is up. We see that it is enabled, so it's going to come up on reboot of the server, so that's cool. Yeah, when you do an apt-get install or an apt-get upgrade, yeah, you can upgrade what's there. Otherwise, if you went and downloaded some package, like if you built Ansible 3 for an Ubuntu system and that wasn't part of the default repository, if any vulnerabilities come up, that's on you. Now you're going to have to go remove that package and rebuild the new packages and that kind of stuff. So it's one of these things that I don't want to call it a double-edged sword because it's not exactly that. It's just package managers create a certain amount of convenience, but you have to also still support and understand that you're still getting these repositories from a certain place. Yeah, it's always a trade-off. Everything we do in engineering is a trade-off, and part of your job as moving out of system administration up to system engineering is understanding those trade-offs. It's a big part of it. Okay, so we see that it's on. We see that's enabled. We see its process ID, so we can go dig into what the process ID is doing. We've done that before. But a very common port is 2049 for NFS. So 2049 is listening in a UDP state, and it's listening in a TCP state as well. Both of them will accept any connection from IPv4. That's the any for IPv4 on port 2049. And UDP will allow any connection from IPv6 as well. Oh, and then also, yeah, and also TCP will as well. So for both UDP and TCP, for both IPv4 and IPv6, any address is being listened to. That's how we read that right there. Learning about NFS last night. Nice, Nano J. Hopefully this is useful. Some systems are still connecting with NFS version 3. NFS version 4 is a little more robust and has more security built in. So a lot of organizations, net new stuff will come up as NFS version 4. And we can actually look at how these are mounted here in a little bit. But let's just say that for now we can call our server good. We've built the server up. It's running. We can check to make sure that the firewall is not running. It's in an inactive state. That's good. We can make a share and then allow that share to be owned by nobody and no group, right? So, yeah, Nano J, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys think this is useful, that's the main reason I do this. Now, real quick, we're going to add that actual directory that we just made to the exports folder. So if I do right now a show mount -e or export fs, either of those commands will show me that nothing's being shared from this box yet. Nothing is being exported, and there's no mounts on this box. But if I vi etc exports, Shift G to go to the bottom, I'll hit O, and I'm going to grab this line right here. Where's that? I thought I had this set so I could just copy it, but okay, I'll just grab it, Control C, Control Shift V, and there we go. We're going to share out to anybody, read writable, sync is okay, and no subtree check is needed. So escape :WQ. And if we check our export FS, and if we check our show mount -e, nothing is being exported still. And that makes sense, right? What if somebody were editing that file in real time? We wouldn't want NFS to be changing the way mounts were happening in real time. Or if somebody messed up that file and shared out the wrong thing. No. Before we get anything shared out of etc exports, we have to restart the service. So we're going to restart the service, and then our show mount -e is going to show that there's something there. And our export FS is also going to show that we're exporting something. So those are two ways. Show mount -e and export FS will show what's being exported. The share, where's it located? In the user directory? No, I made share right now. I just made it in this, just in the root of the file system. That's where I put it. It could be anywhere. And then I just changed its ownership to nobody and no group for now. So I just put it down in there. So it's just out of the way. We could have put it, a common place to put it. I could have put it down in, I could have mounted it there. I could have mounted it out of MNT. I could have mounted it. I mean, people put it in different places. I guess you could share it out everywhere. I'm just kind of lazy, and I just put it right out of the root of the file system. But some people share it out of different places. Some people might have a /shares, and then they'll be down in there somewhere. Let's go. Srinath said, will you be live streaming any sessions, any schedule, or any page follow? Srinath, I just kind of stream kind of whenever I want, but I do stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights in Arizona time. And then Fridays I tend to stream, but I didn't this Friday because I was busy. So that's why I'm kind of doing a little makeup stream. And then Sunday mornings are always all labs. We do all labs on Sundays. Also, greetings from Brazil. Yeah, thank you. I actually train Brazil's jiu-jitsu. So I've been training Brazilian jiu-jitsu for 20 years, in case you guys didn't know that. So, and then somebody from New York. Yep. Thanks. And I try to give you guys good, useful information. So, yeah. So this we can share out from anywhere, Nano J. Yep. And this is being exploited to the world. So we are exposing anything we want out there. Not really exploited, but we're just exposing it everywhere. So the server side of this is good. Now we're going to go back. Yeah, Kurt Killer, I saw that you're smoking that brisket. If you dropped it in the normal channel, but we've got a food channel. And one of my brothers was a cook in the military. And then he also likes to cook now. So one of my brothers likes to smoke that kind of stuff. I think Sending Grounds does as well. And I don't think I've ever seen Fisherman show anything like that. But some of the guys will post stuff like that. Yeah, we got a little food channel. You can put stuff wherever you want, but the food channel, you'll get a bunch of plates. People will be demanding food, so a bunch of starving engineers over in our server, but that's okay. So far, you set up an NFS server and share. Now we have to connect to it on another system. So I want you guys to think about what we're doing here, because after we do it, we're going to go draw. This is part of today. Is I'm going to give this, guys, to you as a share, and we're going to draw out what we're doing so we understand it and can convey it to others. This is an important skill as an engineer, because, you know, what if you're just really good at building things, but you're no good at then showing people what it is you built? And if you have a hard time understanding what you built visually, how are you going to convey it to other engineers so that they can support it, or that you can draw out how your system works, right? There's a lot of right ways to do a lot of different stuff, guys, but we have to be able to convey it to others so that we can go on vacation, or so that we don't get called out every night when there's a problem. I want the junior engineers to work on that stuff. I want to be able to go down to Cancun and stuff. So, all right, we'll get to that here in a minute. I'm going to share that to you guys in a little bit. But let's do the second part. On this main server, we're going to install NFS Common, right? So NFS Common is going to install the common packages I need to be able to mount NFS from this server, which is we're back on Node 01's all set up. Now we're going to use control plane to connect over to it, okay? And so it's going to take a second to install NFS Common. You can then do a dpackage if you wanted to. You could do a dpackage -L, grep-I for NFS. And, you know, the question might be, well, hold on a second. I only said to install one package. Why does it have all those packages? And if I were to cat var log apt, and then in here, history.log, and I were to look at today's date, I only told it to install this one thing. Why did it install all this other crap? I didn't tell it to install key utils AMD64. I didn't tell it to do that. I didn't tell it to do an RPC bind. What's all that stuff, right? Well, this is what used to be our nightmare back in the day, right? This is why we like package managers, is because there's that. And then Sami over there on YouTube said, you're new to the channel, where should I start from? Sami, the most important thing I would say is join the Discord, because that's where we kind of have conversations around this stuff. I'll post the Discord up in the YouTube in a second here. And then also for you guys, I have some kind of persistent videos that aren't my live videos, where it's just the basics. Also, I'm going to be starting tonight with just this. I'm not doing this right now, guys, but I'm going to pull it up for you. I'm going to go through just my systems administration, so Linux system administration, and this will be all these pieces of things that you need to know and understand about troubleshooting and all kinds of things within the system, okay? So that's going to be kind of a starter type thing, but we're not going to do that tonight right now. In fact, I only have that open because that's doing my closed captioning for me. So let me pull this stuff back up that we are doing right now. But the question was, where should I go? Where should I start? I would definitely 100% of the time in this group start in the Discord, because that's where we kind of hang out and talk shop. You can ask questions. You can go find, like, maybe you're doing Linux, but you're really interested in security, or you're doing Linux and DevOps is your thing, right? Because not everybody wants to do this low-level Linux stuff that I'm showing. Guys, I 100% get that. Most people that I've worked with over the years haven't stayed down in the engine room like I have down doing Linux. They've gone off and done really cool stuff up in DevOps and site reliability engineering and all these other things. But I still think, and then most of them all hang out in our ProLug group still. And the reason is because it's a bunch of us, you know, people still use Linux as like a base for all their different engineering stuff that they go off and do. And Memes Class, hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. We're just hanging out, talking shop. We're building NFS so that we can talk about the pieces of it. So we're almost done building it. We've installed the NFS client on our local machine. And then now we're going to mount it just to test. All right, so now if I type the mount command in, I will see that the very last thing mounted on the system is, and it was mounted as NFS version 4, is Node 01 share. So we have version 4.2 is the version. So if somebody were to ask you, hey, what are those mounts that you're connecting in our environment? You know, security asks you, or your governance, risk and compliance, your GRC team, this is where we would go and say, oh yeah, we're using 4.2. And the package we're using, dpackage-l grep-i for NFS, is we're using this NFS common 113.4-25, right? Whatever this is. And then we could go compare that against the CVEs out in the NIST database to see if there's any vulnerabilities with this, if we need to go to a newer version or something like that. Memes class, how can someone reach out to me? Just reach out to me on Discord. I tell you guys all the time, if you message me on Discord, it's the same name, Het Tanis, just an anagram for the saint, right? And if you find me on there, you can message me. That's pretty much, you know, I just run this professional links users group. We've been running for about 10 years, and then we've been running Discord for almost 5 now. So, you know, and then the streaming's been going for about 3 years, and it's kind of picked up on the YouTube side the last like 2 weeks or whatever. But I've been doing this a long time. The green screen's kind of new though, but that's still there. Just joined the podcast, best channel you've seen, best in class. No need to look for another links tutorial. Well, Pranav, that's actually really cool. I mean, I like that people like this stuff, but you guys are welcome to come in and talk shop with. I've got all kinds of. One of my skills is I've gathered other talented, much more talented than me engineers into our Discord, and we have all kinds of guys that are really good at stuff. In fact, we got one guy that builds the bots that sit there and make fun of people that join and all that kind of stuff, right? Like we have. You can ask that bot questions and it'll respond to you like a salty old Unix admin, so you can feel like you're really learning Linux from a real Linux admin. Anyways, all right, so we can see that the mount, df-h will show us that, by the way, when you use df will give you information about mounted file systems. -h will give it to us in a human readable, and then the argument that we're given is just, we don't want to dump everything to the screen. Because if you do df-h by itself, I'm just going to pipe it to a word count -l, there's 44 lines that are going to pop out on the screen. It's going to be a big old mess. So sometimes you just want to narrow it down with an argument to that exact thing. And that's the way you can do it. You can also see that like the root of the file system is mapped off of wherever it's mapped off of, that kind of stuff, right? So we've got it mounted. And if we do, this is a little trick. Let's unmount it real quick. So we U-mount it. And if we go look, we'll see that it's not mounted anymore. It's just back off of the root of the file system. And this is a kind of old Linux Unix admin trick. Let's VI our etcfs tab real quick. Shift-G, hit O to go to the next line. I'm going to copy this and Control-Shift-V. And now we're going to have that mounted, or we're going to have that set in the etcfs tab. And this is the old trick. If you do a mount-A right here, and it works without any errors, that's actually really good, because now we know that that is readable and mountable when we come back through and start the system again. If you've ever made a mount point change to your system with etcfs tab, and then you don't do a mount-A to verify it, and it's broken, you will stop your server from properly booting later. So this is a very useful trick right here, where we didn't leave it mounted, we unmounted it, and then we went and defined in etcfs tab its mount point, and then we used a mount-A. I just said mount everything. Read through the whole etcfs tab and mount anything you need to. And it found it, and it automatically put it back in there. See how it wasn't mounted a second ago? And now it is mounted? That's very important. That's what we call a sanity check. This keeps you from going insane later, going like, why the F and F isn't my server starting? Now I got to go drop into a rescue kernel and pull that etcfs tab out so I can bring it up and then work it. No, this is analogous to reading the file and starting as though you rebooted without having to reboot a server. Very, very useful little systems trick, and that will save you a lot of time and energy and these gray hairs that I have all over my head from learning it myself, right? All right. So we've got it mounted. Let's touch a file. We've touched a file. We've looked at that file, and we see that it's out on that server with nobody in no group, and it's there. Yeah, Kurt Killer, I've seen servers go down hard because people mess up that CFS tab. In fact, one of our guys will tell you, if you go into our Discord and go look, he was taking a Red Hat Certified Systems Administrator test once, and you have to change some things and actually reboot the server. So he changed some stuff and rebooted the server to test, and his server would not come back up. And I think he had to retake his RHCSA. This was years ago for him because of that. There's Robbie Reed, df-h dot to find where your current directory. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So df-h dot that's very useful to know, like, hey, am I actually in? So if I go over to my, where did I mount that? I mounted that in mount. df-h dot would show me that I'm in mount and it's mounted off of that location. So that's super useful as well. Absolutely. Yeah, since you can mount over. Yeah, that's true. And actually, I did that in some of the other labs before, where I would show you guys that you could put something in there and then you could mount over the top of it and it would still be there, but you can't see it from this OS anymore. And then I was telling you guys that's not a very effective way to hide files, though. Like, if you're ever like, oh, I'm going to be real sneaky and I'm just going to have this hidden. Anybody with any forensics tools and any kind of knowledge is going to find your files. So you can't really hide things like that. But it is useful for, like, you know, if I CD'd to mount and I do a df-h on dot and it's mount and I do an ls-al, I will only see the files that are in the mounted directory on the far system. I wouldn't see any that were in this directory before I mounted it. So it's kind of like you had something in the middle of a room and you just carpeted over it. We'd all still know it was there. We just wouldn't know what it was because you just carpeted over the top of it. It's the same kind of idea. And it still uses the storage of the underlying disk too. So, okay. All right, so we did that, right? I said, look at you learning Linux configurations. You created an NFS share on one server and you connected to it on the other. Now, we've got the book over here. The book said we were going to build an NFS server and client setup, verify its functionality. We did those things. Then we did given a bash prompt and 2 servers complete in the allotted 60-minute time. So we did that. Complete all the activities. And then there's some reflection questions. Why do you now have 3 NFS packages when you only told the system to install the one? And I want you to think about that. We were talking about package managers and package managers going finding you all this stuff so that you don't have to deal with the nightmare of package dependencies anymore as much, right? So it did all that for me. So that's good. And then I said, why didn't /share get immediately shared out when we put it in the etc exports file? Is that expected? Should it be? How did we actually get it to share out? We had to restart, right? We had to restart everything. I don't know if that's high. I don't know how to say that. But it is dependencies. And it's only on restart. Yep. So those are right. I said, when you create a file on the share, why is it not root as you would expect? Is that behavior configurable? So if we do a mount and then we just grep for NFS, right? We see here, we should see it right in here somewhere. I don't see it here. It's typically a default though, but we have what's called root squash on. So the question is, why is this nobody no group instead of root like it would normally be? Like if I touch temp, this is a Scott file, right? And then I ls-l temp, this is a Scott file. It's going to be root on my system because root is the owner and the group owner of the file. But when I created something in /mount, which is a distant NFS share, why is that? Why is that nobody no group? Unless it's inherited from the local lock none. It's also root squash, right? We have root squash on the system. So if I go, let's SH over to node 01, and we do export fs and show mount -e, maybe it's not in there, cat etc exports, we should see, typically it's in the defaults, rw sync no subtrees check, so we didn't even have to put it in there, but it's probably in the default configuration, cat etc nf. I don't see it there. Where might that be? I'm sure that's configurable. I'm not sure exactly where we configure. I guess we could have configured it out of here. But yeah, root squash typically is the default. And then we would have to put no root squash if we didn't want it. Linge? Okay. Henrik Linge. Okay, yeah, Linge. Sorry about that. I was looking at the HL and I was like, how am I going to do that? I don't know how to do anything with that name. But I can use Linge. We had a question on the YouTube side. How can I follow everything from the beginning? Are there multiple live streams? Yeah, there's a lot of live streams, Pranav. I would tell you just the most important thing to me, if I were trying to learn this, and I'm telling you guys to learn this, is to just get your hands on it. Take this lab that we're in right here, which I linked. It's pinned over on the Twitch side. On the YouTube side, here it is again. Drop in there. You'll be in the same exact shell as me. It's free over on Killer Coda. And just start putting the commands in. Even if all you do is just push these buttons, you'll still see the output. What is the event tomorrow at 00? Typically at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock sometimes on Sundays. I just do labs all morning. So Sundays are lab days, if that's what you're asking for, the event. Unless you're talking, Linge, unless you're talking down in the Discord. If you're talking in the Discord, I have, there's an event later today for me called the Prolug Weekly Meeting. And for anybody that hasn't been here for that, what we do in the Discord event, there's Fisherman, how's it going? I'll show you guys what we do in the event here. So let's just go to our meeting notes. Nope, that's notes, PowerPoint, hold on. Prolog, it's down in the Linux group, and it's just agendas, right? So I don't keep an agenda all the time like I should, but this is typically what our agenda looks like for you guys that haven't been here. We'll just throw in whatever users showed up, and what are we talking about or what are we working on. Some people were doing some Linux Plus videos, and we were watching them. We'll watch videos down there and just kind of mess around and stuff. But then, if people have questions or that kind of stuff, and I always put down new members should, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to tell me your name. You don't have to stand up and put your camera on or nothing. It's just kind of hangout type thing. And we typically do it but it'll be in your time on Discord. For anybody that's on Discord, it'll be in your time. For me, it's 3 to 5 o'clock typically, my time. So Arizona time, right? All right. So anyway, so there's that. Why is it important to verify that your etc.fs tab is good by using mount-a? Because again, if your server doesn't reboot properly because your etc.fs tab doesn't mount, you can cause your systems to be unbootable. So that's why I show you guys that little trick where we run the etc.fs tab and the mount-a, and we fix it that way. It's super useful. It's right in here. Okay. All right. So we did all that stuff. Then there's some digging deeper. NFS is not the fastest type of storage available. We have a lot faster. There's global parallel file systems. There's blob storage even up in the cloud where we can just hit things with API calls and access data very quickly. But what are some reasons to use NFS still? We still use it. Yeah, if you screw up etc.fs tab, that's a paddling. That's true. This is what happens if you screw up etc.fs tab right here. All right. So anyways, cloud users provide a version of NFS up in the cloud. They're called file storage. What are the use cases of EFS, which is an AWS solution? That's the last. EFS for them is, I think it's Elastic File System. But anyways, it's basically NFS up there in the cloud. 4:30 hours in the Discord. Linge, whatever Discord shows you should be in your time. So I'm not sure exactly how it's calculating it, but I know that Discord switches it over to whatever your time zone is set for. So for me, it's 4:30 in the 3:30. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, for me. So, but Discord should show you it in your time zone. So whatever you're seeing as the time should be correct on there. For me, if you guys want to figure it out, hold on. If I look at Discord real quick, I go to the event. It is, so that's at 3 p.m. today. That is in about 5.5 hours for me. So if any of you go look at our Discord, that should be about 5.5 hours for you. More than 24 hours. This should be 5.5 hours away from you, if it's reading correctly for you on Discord. So, okay. And we get anywhere between like 3 people and like 20 people there, depending. And that's, that's fine. I have a goal. Can I tell you guys something fun? I have a goal to break Discord one day. I would like Discord to not be able to handle the amount of people that we have in a voice channel one day. I'm pretty sure they've got it capped somewhere, but it doesn't say anywhere in the messages. So I have a plan, like in August when we're going to have like a big virtual event. I would like to have like 100 people in those channels. That'd be absolutely wonderful to me. Fisherman, I can't be shirtless. That'd be terrible. That'd be terrible for everybody involved, so I can't do it. Okay, so guys, we've done all this, right? We've done the lab stuff. We've actually built it. We've thought about it a little bit. Now let's draw it out. If you've never drawn something out before, it can be a certain amount. There could be a certain amount of kind of usefulness to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this out and start a session. I'm going to copy a link to the session, but before I do, watch what I'm going to do real quick. So we got that session. I'm going to grab each of these, right? Control C, Control V. I'm going to make a whole bunch of these. So you guys can hop in any one of them you want when I give you the link here. And actually, if you guys have never used Excalidraw, you can draw on the same collaboration as everybody else. Now, it's not going to hurt my feelings what you do in there because I already have a copy of this. So it doesn't matter even if you draw over mine. But I'm still going to give you guys the link here in a second. Whoops. So that you guys can do this. And let's look at what we're doing real quick before I give you guys the link. Give me 1 second here. Copy the link. Okay, I'm going to drop the link here for people that want to join. And on the YouTube side, it works, I think. But on the Twitch side, you're going to have to fix that little comma. That comma breaks it on the Twitch side, so you're going to have to go fix the thing yourself. And I'm just going to have to tell you, I guess, figure that. Hopefully you can figure that stuff out yourself. I'm going to pick my useful little stylus up here. And I should be able to see, whoops. I think I actually zoomed out on the actual. Oh no. I've broken everything, guys. It's not that the page is broken. Hold on. I need to well, that's fine. That's fine. It'll work. So what we need to do then, so anybody, you guys got the link. Again, you got to fix it on the Twitch side, but on the YouTube side, you can just do it. And what I'm telling you here to do is make a copy of this block somewhere on the page. I already made a whole bunch of them. And then for you, I guess, fix your name. So if you wanted to, there's a line. That's not it. I want to draw. There's my draw. There's my draw. And you might have to go fix your colors as well. Right? Or put it wherever. I don't care. I don't care where you guys put your systems here. Again, I accidentally I accidentally zoomed out too much on the actual system. But now here's what we're going to do. So for any of you guys and any of the other ones over here. Yeah, see? Jesus Christ. This is why I never show these things, because I never know what's going to pop up in them. But you can go in there. Son of a bitch. All right. Add your name. Draw a version of the description. So here's our description. We got a 3-node class. Yeah, guys. This is the problem with doing things live. But if we're doing it live, if we're over here, we'll do it live, right? If we're Bill O'Reilly yelling at the camera. We're doing it live, then at least people can practice this with me. If you're not here live, I will put this link down in our Discord, and you can get the link to this later. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but you can actually you can get into Excalidraw anytime later with a link, and then it'll just be your own copy of it. So you won't have a copy of all the stuff that we drew, but you can have an exact copy of the base thing. So right, what are we doing? We had a server. Right? And we can even call him node 01. That was node 01. And then in this case, I say that you have 2 clients. So then, maybe we have over here. Whoops. Oh, what happened here? I've clicked a button that Apparently, I've clicked the wrong button on my thing. All right, but anyways, you can hit Control Z and it'll delete things. But anyways, we come over here, and then we had 2 clients, right? And this was control plane. And maybe, I don't know, new node. Doesn't matter, right? And they were connecting up to here on port 2049. I know that, right? How to fix a comma? Oh, you actually have to just copy it all and just throw it in there directly. You still need the comma. The comma is needed. It's just on the Twitch side. Twitch breaks it up when there's a comma. I don't know why anybody would ever have put a comma in a thing anyways. But yeah, so look, you guys can draw. You can draw on mine. It doesn't hurt my feelings any. But yeah, we're on 2049. Over here, it was /MNT and MNT, right? And we could just be mocking this up, and then we can go clean it up later, right? We don't have to have this all super perfect. Over here, it was share, right? It was share. And then we know that we had a service running, and we could go write out a bunch of different stuff about what was going on in our system. Oh God, what's going on over here? Hold on. I see the start of my name over there, so now I gotta wonder what the hell's going on over here. Guys, if you guys don't know, I got hit with some AI the other day, and I don't even want to ask. All right, but the point is, you could come in here and sometimes it'll help some of the stuff stick in your head. Yeah, Robdom, thanks for coming by. Yeah, it's the buff version of me. Yeah. But we could start to figure out what's going on. Yeah, it's my only version. Yeah. I got to change this music. Music's a bit over the top. I wonder if I can remove it right now. Remove this song. Nope. All right, we're gonna get rid of that one for now. That song's a bit too loud. A little too loud for what we got going on right now. Also, gotta stop leaning back so much. I think that's what's messing up my chroma there. Seems like it's better when it's closer. All right, anyways. Maybe I can... I don't know. We'll figure that out. All right, so that's just something to start to draw out. Can you show a 3-node cluster? Yeah. 2 of the nodes are NFS clients. Boom. NFS clients reside on the NFS server at the location. So actually I should change that to NFS for files for this one. So that should be files. NFS clients mount the files at NFS mount NFS underscore data mount point, and then NFS communicates over port 49. So we might change it based off of what we saw in the lab, right? So, oh God. Let's do all the Linux. All right. So my point in showing you guys all that, if you did this and then you needed to, God damn this, if you you can grab any part of this, and also if you did the lab and you were like, hey, I want to keep my version of this as like an example to show somebody, you can actually come up here and you can hit, there's a save button, and you can save your version to your local machine. So then it saves as a .excalidraw, and you can open it there. And if you guys didn't know, you can actually open it inside of VS Code too. So VS Code has an extension for you to go open. If I wanted to just open, let's see. If I had a .excalidraw for any of these, where do I have these? I think I have them up here in Linux group, streaming. I think they're drawings, images. No, images are like BS that we've done for stuff. Hold on. I think I normally call it Excalidraw. I don't know where I put it. All right, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, the point is you can open them here too as well. So, something for you guys to play with. All right, so again, showing you guys all this to say there's a way for you to put this stuff in Yeah, Excalidraw is just another way to mock stuff up, a way to quick whiteboard things. You could use, yeah, Excalidraw is excellent though, and it's open source too. And you can run your own. If you don't trust their site, you can actually run your own Docker of it, or have it in a Kubernetes cluster in your own organization and just run your own. But they do claim that they will not keep track of anything that anybody puts in there, and that nobody will have access to it except people that you give the link to. So that's kind of a cool little promise on their part, I guess, right? That's kind of good. All right, so that is I'm gonna close that down, get rid of that. It's not, I didn't save any of the stuff that I had there, but it's there for you guys. And then Lynch, thanks for the subscription. I appreciate that. Keeps me motivated. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you and anybody else watching. So let's go. We did this one. The other one I wanted to do today on my short little stream here is we've got all these other labs. We've got all these other cool things we're doing, antivirus. But one that I really want to show you guys that's super important for the high performance compute world is this thing called Slurm. So I'm going to link you guys a few things. Whoops, that's server startup process. Let's go find Slurm. Hold on. Slurm. So I'm going to link this to you guys. Whoops. So here's Slurm for people that want it. Boom. And I'll repin a new lab on the Twitch side. Pin. There we go. Yeah, well, I appreciate you lurking. I appreciate if you do hang out down the Discord and give your expertise and also ask for help from the other engineers. That's always super useful. This is taking a while because I think I left the other one open somewhere. You can only ever have one of these open, so you always got to kind of watch for that. Make sure that you're not using more than one. Let's close that one down. We'll open a new one, and then that should let me in now. Maybe I started too many. An ALS journey, yeah, I'm doing good, and hopefully this stuff's useful to anybody watching. Give that a second for me to get out of the queue here. The lab we're doing today is pinned for you guys, and then I have another little thing of drawing for this. So let me pull this up here. Excalidraw, and this is how easy it is in Excalidraw to change what you're doing. Hold on a second here. Why is this so? I think I need to go. There we go. This is what I need. I need the page back. So I'm going to load from a file, and here's all my Excalidraws, and I'm going to go to my Slurm challenge. So this is going to be our Slurm challenge next. We're gonna build this out. Slurm is I'm going to actually show you here in a second, but it is a scheduler for high performance compute workloads. It comes from SchedgeMD. SchedgeMD, and I will link this to you guys. This is how Slurm works. So this is a good tool if you're going to do anything with like the academic space and you want to learn how a scheduler works. And this is their architecture right here. So I'm going to right click and hit open tab, or open image in a new tab, and then I can look at what we're going to do for this lab here in a second. We're going to install Slurm on a 2-node cluster, and we're going to build a 2-node cluster. ALS, it's more than that. What it is, it kind of works like this, right? If I'm running a big high-performance compute cluster, or what some people might call a server farm, but we tend to think of them as clusters, I will keep all my servers up, right? But I don't want, like, even if I trust you, I don't want you to log into my servers and run jobs directly on them. What I would do instead for all of my users is I would say, hey, you can come in on these login nodes or bastion hosts, and then you can kick off jobs over there. It's almost like you're standing at a terminal and hitting buttons and launching off your server processes. And then this Slurm tool will take what you give it and go, yes, you need to run against 30 nodes, and it'll go run your job on 30 nodes. And then it'll store the information and give it back to you in whichever way you want. And I'm going to kind of show a little bit of that. But the way it works is there's these controller daemons. They used to be called master and slave, but nowadays they're called controller daemons and worker nodes or compute nodes. What we're going to do specifically today in this lab is we're going to add a Slurm controller daemon to one of the nodes. I believe it's control plane. And then we're going to add the Slurm daemon, which will make it a worker node, to both control plane and node 01. So one of the nodes will be in 2 roles. Slurm is just the job. It's just the tool that people can use to kick things off into the cluster. Slurm can kick off jobs and workloads that would then deploy into Kubernetes. You can use Kubernetes as part of your cluster, and this can catch jobs. But for right now, this is just going to be bare metal type workloads, just to understand it. But Slurm can connect into Kubernetes clusters as well, absolutely. So other things that work like Slurm, Platform LSF, Open Lava, which doesn't exist anymore. It got sued to shit by Platform LSF, which is an IBM tool now. So Platform LSF, Slurm, and the other one that's really big that's like this is called can't remember. There's another big one too. But for now, we're going to do this. Once we have the control daemon up and the little worker nodes that are connected to it correctly, we will be able to control it with these different commands. And I'll show you srun and sbatch. And then I'm going to build other labs later that are going to do, we're going to do SQ as well, but we're going to do some other labs later that add in some of these other components. But they're not in this first lab. This first lab is just simply the basics, okay? Again, SkedgeMD runs it. They own it. It's open source, but they do have support for it, which is kind of like the modern open source model where things are free, but the support costs a little bit. And you do want support because, we probably put tickets in with them once every 2 weeks or so. So we're a heavy user and one of my customers of Slurm. And we do quite a bit of support and making sure we have security and that kind of stuff. So when we're done, we're going to draw some of this stuff out just to practice. All right. So come over here to our lab. Our lab is all set up. The lab is pinned and it's on the Discord thing for people. Discord. It's on the YouTube side and on the Twitch side. So boom, let's do it. It says, welcome to Prolog Linux configurations. Your team wants to set up a proof of concept. This is an engineering term, a POC. Set up a POC, proof of concept, around scheduling jobs across multiple nodes. The end goal is running like a compute cluster that functions, or running a compute cluster that functions like a high-performance compute cluster. There's some other things we would need, but the scheduler is a big part of it. We would also need shared libraries. We would need probably some big parallel file system and maybe some underlying networking for speed. But at the most simple level, this is what we need. So we're going to install Slurm and have the appropriate daemons running. That's going to be a thing for us. So we'll just do app-y update on our server and make sure that what app update will do is it'll go and check all the libraries and make sure that the metadata is good and that we have the most updated version of all of our repositories. And then I say here, just install slurmd and slurm control daemon. That's what we're going to install on control plane 01, or control plane. So we'll get that installed here. Hey, thanks for the follow, Sambin. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. As you can see, Ranger's not super impressed with anything we do around here. I need to fix Ranger Cam so nobody can actually do Ranger Cam right now, or we can't check Ranger Cam because Ranger Cam is down. I think it's down. Yeah, I'll go restart it here in a little bit in case anybody wants to see Ranger, but yeah. Okay, so we've got that installed now. Now let's go install Slurm daemon on the worker node, which is node 01. Remember, control plane is going to be both the controller and one of the workers, and node 01 is going to be a worker. So they're going to have the slurmd process running, but the Slurm control daemon is going to be on node or control plane. Sambin. Oh, you're lucky. Okay. Well, I mean, you're here, so if you're here, hop in the lab and start doing it with us. That's your luckiness for the day, is getting in here and doing the work, right? So I want you guys, I want to step back and think about something for a second. If we go to that link, I'm going to go to that link for SkedgeMD real quick that I pulled and showed you guys. If you read in here, it says that there's a bunch of things that you need, and I don't see them say. They don't say it here, but you need Munge. Munge is a service that exchanges keys on your behalf, right? And Munge needs to be there for this to work. So, knowing that, I want you guys to think about something. Control plane 01, I installed Slurm and Slurm control daemon, right? Slurm D and Slurm control daemon. And when that happened, it installed a munge key on my control plane. And then when I went and I pushed over the Slurm daemon on node 01 and I had it pull its own configuration, it also generated its own munge key. Now, if I told you that when munge gets installed on a system, it generates its own key, do you think there's any chance in all the world, in all of the universe, that control plane and node 01 would have the same key? They wouldn't, right? It's impossible. It's literally impossible. They both pulled down and generated a key by separate processes on different servers. So, knowing that, we have to push the key from the main node to the other node so that the munge key is exactly the same. Once we do that and we restart munge over there, now both of the servers have the same key. So I just want you to know that you have to make sure the key is the same. So would it install Slurm on a production environment? It would be its own server or run along with another service. Kurt Killer, as best we can in the Linux world and as best we can in the systems world in general, every server will have one purpose. So to answer that question generically, Slurm should be on its own. But we're working on such a small cluster here that I'm making them share roles, right? For a lab environment, a node being a control daemon and a worker daemon is fine. But no, in the real world, your control daemon will be only the control daemon server. And then the worker nodes will be the nodes that have all the power space and cooling and all that stuff to do that. Right there, they'll be the beefy nodes. Yeah. As best I can, I will never share a service between any things. That's just a general thing. Okay, so we've got that up, and I said copy over the munge key from control plane 01 to node 01 so that munge is communicating. Again, doesn't that kind of make sense? If one over here, the key concept that you think about is decouple. Yeah, so yeah, we decouple services. Yeah, so that they're not dependent on each other. That's true. The old days of us doing LAMP stack Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, right? Or back when I used to do it, it was Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Perl back in the day. But any of those things where we put them all on the same server, that's a bygone era. We don't do that. We could just have a bunch of virtual machines, and then I can have a front end, web presentation tier, an application logic tier, and a data tier on 3 virtual machines, and who gives a crap? They're just virtual machines. We have enough sprawl of those damn things around the organization anyways, right? Bros entire Australia is based on LAMP. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Austria still, yeah. Did I say Australia? I meant Austria. Sorry. You can never trust what that thing says, anyways. But I did say Australia, but I meant Austria. Yeah, it's gone. It needs to be moved off because the idea is if I have to restart the Linux underpinnings, I have to restart the whole server, and that's a problem. I need to have these things broken out. Yep. And in modern systems, we take all that stuff and decouple it 100%. In fact, I have a whole talk on that I'll do again one of these days here, where in modern systems we want to make everything. I have it somewhere here, but there's that. Okay. So munge has been restarted. So now you have munge working correctly. It's time to configure Slurm. There's a link that I put right here in the lab. And the link is how Slurm can build this tool for you. This is actually a really cool little thing. If you get to the bottom of this page and hit submit and you haven't changed anything, it will build you your slurm.conf file. So here's your slurm.conf right here. If you didn't change anything else, this is what you want. A cluster name is cluster. The control daemon is Linux 0. You probably should have changed that. We're not going to use that, but I wanted you guys to see that there's a way to generate one of these files. Now, I've made one of them for you guys for this lab, and it's down here in answers slurm.conf. So we're going to copy that into the right place, and then we're going to go review the configuration to see all of the pieces that I made. So we're just going to cat that file out. And we're going to start at the top. It's got the generic from when I generated it. And the cluster name, we called it the Professional Linux Users Group Cluster. So there we go. There's our cluster. And then we had a Slurm control daemon host, which is the node that all the other nodes are going to listen to. Well, that's control plane, because remember I told you that's got the control daemon on it? Okay. I didn't change anything else up here. Nothing else that I changed. But at the bottom, I changed 3 things. So I changed 2 things at the top and 3 things at the bottom. Here's what I changed. Node name for control plane is, this is one of the nodes in our cluster. And it's got 1 CPU that can be used and 1,500 bytes of memory. Node name 01 is going to be CPU of 1 and the same size, 1500 bytes, so 1.5 megs. And then I changed the partition name to be Professional Linux Users Group as well. We could have multiple partition names. We can move our nodes to be in different partitions, and we can only make them run. Partitions are like places that jobs land when people start kicking off jobs, right, in our cluster. But for us, those are the 5 things we changed in this lab. We changed the name of the cluster, who all the nodes are listening to, and then the definitions of who the nodes are, and the partition where jobs land. Seems a lot at first, but as you get used to it, there's only a few pieces that actually matter. All this other stuff, timeouts, default values, where process IDs are kept so that we know that things are running, that kind of stuff. So, so Shark asked, I don't know the makers of Slurm also made software. Yeah, so Slurm is also a thing from Futurama, in case you guys don't know. But yeah, so different than what a partition is, a block device. Yeah, partitions are totally different in this case than block devices. Partitions here are completely held in memory. Partitions are, you can kind of almost think of them as like job queues. That would be a better description of partitions here. They are not part of block devices. They do not have anything to do with, you know, the limitations of block devices or those kind of things. This is a way to queue jobs up against different nodes. So, something to think about. Okay. Now I say, if I've done it on this main node, if I've put that in place, let's restart Slurm control daemon and Slurm. Then we'll copy this over to the other node. We need to copy this over to node 01, and then we can restart Slurm over there. Then we can check on Munge on this side to make sure Munge is running, and we can make sure that Slurm is running on this side and Slurm control daemon is listening. Okay. So all the pieces are working on this individual node. I could also do these same commands if I wanted to, just to make sure that it's on node 01. You would do it like this. If you didn't want to jump over there, you could just do that. And yeah, node 01 is running Slurm. Everything's good. It's more precisely, it's listening on the port for Slurm there, 6818. So it's ready to accept jobs that are kicked down to it from the Slurm control daemon on the primary node. All right. So if this is up, we have 2-node cluster, and we can begin to test the cluster out a little bit. So we go to the next section of the lab. By the way, the lab is pinned on the Twitch side and on the YouTube side. I think you just got to scroll up and look in the chat. I dropped it in the chat there. These labs are also up there in our Discord, so you can go through and do any of these labs at your leisure, and you can ask questions and all that kind of stuff too as well, right? So you've installed Slurm on 2 nodes and started the daemons. You want to verify the status of the cluster and the individual node readiness states. I want to know that the nodes are ready to catch jobs. So I do an S control to show the config. This is a general idea of, is the cluster good? Is the cluster healthy? So S control show config is going to dump a bunch of stuff to the screen. And one of the things that I tell you guys as a systems administrator, systems engineer, especially as you first build a thing out, as you first start getting a system to talk to other pieces of the system, you want to know where logs are going. Why do I want to know where logs are going? Same thing as always. If everything works, I do not care. But if something breaks, now I very, very much do care where the logs are. I always use this example. When Robodom's around, I always use the example like I throw Robodom the keys to my truck and say, hey, go grab everybody breakfast or something. So he goes and he sits in my truck and starts it. If my truck starts right away, guess what he does? He just drives off. He doesn't get out and walk around and check the tires and open up the hood and go, yeah, the engine is engineing. Like, he doesn't do any of that stuff because he doesn't need to. But if something's broken, if it just goes and doesn't start, then it's time to go see why the truck isn't trucking, right? And go in and look at all the stuff and, oh, that's loot. I don't know, whatever you're doing, right, with your vehicle. Same idea here. I only have to dig down as far as I need to dig down. But one of the things to know right up front is, where are the logs going? Because, by the way, if something doesn't start, if a process doesn't start or a job doesn't start, it's always getting written out to a log. So you should know. You should be able to go check. All right. So anyway, so to check for the logs, you just hit this button. And here's all the logging stuff. Here's so if somebody said, hey, where's the Slurm control daemon going to log on control plane 01? Or if somebody doesn't even tell you, they just say, hey, where's Slurm control daemon logging? And you go, well, by the way, yes, if you caught that, I did accidentally just put my mic in my mouth. I didn't mean to do that. But anyways, I leaned forward too much. Yes, the server is control plane. and the control-tainment log is in var log slurm -llnl. For some reason, that's the open source version. I don't know. The other versions, it's typically just var log slurm control-daemon.log. And the log file for how I'm accepting jobs is right here, var log slurm -llnl slurm.log. Maybe I don't like that. You know, I can go configure that in the file. So then it can just be var log slurm if I want it. Maybe I don't want it down in a lower directory. Okay, good. So then we can do an sinfo-n, and we can see there's two nodes, control plane and node 01, and they are both in the prolog partition. If they were in different partitions, we would see that. We only have the one partition, though. And their state is idle. Idle means that it's ready to accept jobs. You might say, well, how would I know that? Well, you could man sinfo and then go / for state, hit N a few times. Maybe we can't do it here. It may be just S control, maybe state. Here it is. No, maybe not here. Are these all the states? Anyway, sometimes they'll show you in the log file or in the files all the different states that are available. So can you learn Kubernetes on this website too? Yeah, ALS Journey. Yeah, the killer coda is designed for Kubernetes. Yeah. There's a good amount of Kubernetes in there to get you ready for like a CKA certification. Yes. In fact, the guy who runs Killer Coda is the same guy who runs Killer Shell, Kim Woosterkamp, and his stuff is all up here as well, and it can get you. Well, it won't get you a certificate on here, but it can get you ready to go take the cert test. Yeah. If anybody cares, I have a CKA and a CKAD as well, so I could talk to those if people were interested in that. All right, but that's not what we're doing right now. We're still just doing Slurm. So we got Slurm up, we got it running, and we can go check here. That gives us the same information because nothing's down. And then we'll hit check, and it says it's time to run some jobs on our cluster. We think the cluster is running, so now we're going to run a simple job against one node, a simple job against both nodes, and then a batch job against one node. And you could just keep adding complexity to this. But we'll just run hostname against one node, and it went to one node, control plane. I say, okay, I don't know what that did, so I'll run srun and then -n hostname against two nodes. And I go, okay, well, that gave me the host name of two different nodes. And then I try to do it against 10 nodes. And the thing about Slurm is Slurm will wait until those 10 nodes become available before it'll go run that. So now that job is queued, and we're sitting in a synchronous, so we're waiting for a response back. But we're never going to have 10 nodes in this cluster. We only have 2. So now we're stuck. We're just sitting here waiting. So it says, did this behave differently than what you saw in the other commands? Well, yeah, you had too many things. You don't ever have 10 hosts in this cluster. So that was never going to run. So we got to break that up a different way. That kind of way of running it is never going to work in our cluster. So it says now it's time to run a batch job. Look at the configuration. So here's the batch job we have. It's going to be called root submit. And these are actually, even though they're commented out, these are the format that are used to tell Slurm what we're doing. So sbatch, the name of our job is going to be test. The partition we want against is go against is prolog. The output for us to come and look back at things later is going to be root results.txt. The time, we're going to give it 10 minutes to execute this. Where it cannot go a second over 10 minutes of wall clock time. That's not CPU time, that's wall clock time. It can run on one processor. It can only be on one node. And then the CPUs per task are 1, and the memory per CPU is 100. Well, we know that our nodes are allowed one CPU, and we know that they can have up to 1,500 bytes, so 1.5 megs. So, those are megabytes, so it's 1.5 gigs they can use. So we're going to be way under that. And then what are the commands we're going to do? We're going to do an srun hostname, and then we're going to sleep for 60 seconds. That's all we're going to do in this lab. It's the easiest thing ever. Somebody finally found a VPN to watch stream. Well, good. Well, I didn't know I was limited anywhere, but hopefully this is useful to you guys, right? And by the way, guys, the whole reason I do this, I exist here to tell you guys about our Discord. which is a bunch of engineers that do this stuff and want to get you into doing this stuff professionally. So I just linked the Discord on our Twitch side and over on our YouTube side. You guys are welcome to come hang out with us. I think the Twitch is also, or I think the Discord is also in the description of like the YouTube video. So if you're watching this later, yeah. And I'll tell you, staggeringly exquisite over on the Twitch side. My goal in doing this is to get you guys doing it, because I really think that, you know, you can go and change your professional career. Maybe you were just hanging out doing Linux or Windows work even, and you're like, I don't really love this. Or maybe you're doing like network. I got into the field networking. I got my CCNA and I went and did networking, and I'm like, I don't love this. It was okay, but I didn't love it. So then I went over into systems world and I loved it. Like, I could build systems and I can troubleshoot them, and I'd be on. People always want you on test call. Once people find out that you can do Linux, they call you into everything. I've only dabbled in Kubernetes Docker, but haven't touched HPC. Yeah, HPC is good. There's a use for it, and Kubernetes Docker is working its way slowly into the HPC side. High performance compute nowadays tends to just be big, beefy boxes, servers as powerful as they can be, but we're slowly starting to break workflows down into much more spread out, and those workflows work better with Kubernetes for sure. Docker as well, but Kubernetes as well. Kubernetes more than anything. All right, so let's run this job. Let's see what happens when we run this. We're also going to run a command called SQ. So we run sbatch, and we've got this job running now, and we can see the time that it's been running. And then if I just go look at the queue a few times, I'll see the time that system's been running. It's been 10 seconds. Whoops, SQ. Then 10 seconds. Now it's been 17 seconds. And that's going to run for a while. Yeah, staggeringly exquisite. Hopefully this stuff's useful. I hope you guys like the lecture style. My poor students are subjected to it often. So I tell you guys all the time, if you're here listening to me, it's because you want to be. You got to remember, my poor college students, they have to listen to me, right? They don't have to, I guess, but they get to. Anyway, so yeah, we got people on the Twitch side. We got people over on the YouTube side. I'm going to probably be on later. I've got this stream planned out for later that I'm going to do, but I'm also going to test it down in our Discord first. So we're going to have a little run through it with the professional Linux users group at our normal meeting time, which is in about 3.5 hours. We're meeting for wait, hold on. It's almost 11. About 4.5 hours. Sorry, about 4.5 hours. We're going to be down in the Discord. Are you using Whisper for the subtitle? No. Helio, or I'm going to call you Helio. I am using, that is actually simply a PowerPoint. So if you guys know what Microsoft PowerPoint is, that is simply a PowerPoint in the background doing subtitles for me. So this is a PowerPoint I'm going to do later, Linux Systems Administration. And there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to talk to and work on. But yeah, I just have it in the background, and it just does all my subtitles for me. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good for a free tool. Pretty good for a free tool. I don't have a CKS, and CKS is quite difficult. One of our guys passed the CKS chicken, and he said it was significantly harder than the other ones. I also took it once and thought it was significantly harder than the other ones as well. So yeah, CKS is pretty difficult. So there was a question about CKS, and by the way, guys, I think the Linux Foundation, while they have a very nice certification format of 2 hours and stuff, I think their training is garbage. I think you got to go through Kim Woosterkamp and Mumshad Manabeth on the Code Cloud to get any useful training. All the training that comes from the Linux Foundation, I think, is terrible. And that's from a guy who's bought their training before. I am not a fan of it. But the other guys, Kim Woosterkamp and well, Sabertist, you're probably right that PowerPoint isn't free, but I get it through my college. I get it through, so I have it as a tool for me to use. I get it through my college, and I also get it through my employer as well. So, yeah. So I guess PowerPoint is not completely free, but it's still freer than like a Dragon Speak or something would be. So. And Whisper, I don't even know what Whisper is. Is that open source? I'm a big fan of open source stuff, but sometimes you need like some production stuff. Also, can I tell you guys something funny about this? So this closed captioning here is it's fine for us here because I'm already putting this up on the web. But if I were doing like a business thing and I didn't want anything ever to leave, I wouldn't use this. And you know how you know why I say that is because this is going to the cloud somewhere out in Azure. And you say, how do you know that? Well, because I've lost network connectivity before during a stream and lost the stream, and this stops working. Your closed captioning here does not work unless you have network. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, Sabratis, you're right. PowerPoint's not technically free, but I guess I get it through so many means that it's been free to me for years. So I never really thought about it as cost. Yeah, I also get all that stuff for, I guess I never really thought about it. It's all built in. It's all bundled in with my teaching and my other stuff too. So like if you were to say, hey, Scott, what version of PowerPoint are you using right now? I'm like, I literally don't even know what PowerPoint I'm using on my box. Meaning, like, I don't know if I got it from, like, what license. I literally don't. Because I've just been using them for so long. If I'm in... And also, that's another annoying thing. It's one of the reasons I have so many browsers. People have seen my browsers and go, why do you have, like, 4 different types of browsers open? It's because I hate the Microsoft single sign-on. So I just use a different one for each of my different things that I log into. I'm pretty lazy like that. All right. It runs locally for Whisper. Interesting. Yeah, but I have to download it locally if I want to run it. Okay. I can run. We have quite a bit of stuff that runs in our home lab here, me and the guys. And I'm going to build a thing. I was going to do it tonight, but I'll probably do it sometime this weekend, depending on what my college stuff. So, guys, I'm going to college as well as teaching in a college. And in my going to college, if I'm super busy this weekend, I might not get it done. But I'm going to start pushing up our status to our Discord so that if anybody wants to get into our systems, they'll be able to. So we have a whole bunch of systems inside of the Professional Linux Users Group that you guys can get access to and kind of play with and stuff. Install Brave and create several profiles. Yeah, I never even thought about that. I'm just so lazy. I hate moving between different stuff. So I just have different browsers for things. And then maybe in the future one of these days that'll go away. So look, we can go look at the result text and we see the one node that popped out from the one little job that we did. All we did was run a host name. But we could have run in there, we could have run like a curl to Google or something, and then the results would have been out here instead. So let's go mess with that batch real quick. Hold on. Let's go look at our root submit. Whoops, let's go VI it real quick. VI. Shift G. I'm going to hit O on that because I'm tired of that thing being like that. And let's change this S run to like a curl. And that curl will just be to www.yahoo.com, let's say. And then let's change our sleep to like 5 seconds. So it'll just wait 5 seconds. And we're just hitting Yahoo to show that we could curl something. We could be going out and hitting an API and getting information down, whatever we wanted. Doesn't really matter. Let's go rerun our job again. And this is not going to run nearly as long. It's going to be job ID 6. And then when we go cat our result.txt, now we have the output from that. Now, we don't have where it put it, so maybe that was something we might wanted to have there. But also, yeah, we don't see... with curl, we just got that. But if we'd done like a wget or something, we could have had the file downloaded and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we could have done. But I want you guys to see this. This is a very simple little run through of our Slurm. And Slurm is this very simple little, not simple, but simple architecture of what we just built. Okay. So over here, there's a bunch of questions. I'll let you guys look at those questions for a second and think through them. And then we'll go into the drawing. So if anybody wants to draw out what we just did, so it kind of solidifies it for you. Also, if you're, I don't know, some of you might journal, especially if you're trying to learn things. It's good to write down what you saw and what you did. We're going to have a little place for you guys to go and draw this out. And then maybe you could drop it down in your little notebook. If you got a notepad journal or something, drop it in there and say, you know, then if you're ever asked about it in a high performance compute environment, or if somebody ever asks you, hey, have you ever worked with schedulers? You can go, yeah, I did Slurm once. Oh yeah, I kind of remember it. It was a controller daemon of some type, and then the different worker nodes, and then I got everything to talk. And yeah, okay, I understand the basics of it. Yeah, I can talk to that. And that may help you one day on an interview. You don't know. Especially if you're places that I run into high performance compute the most, colleges, big colleges, and government systems. Those are where I use, and that's what I do. I work for a company called Redline, and then they contract me out to work on high performance compute for people. Typically, I'm building the underlying systems, and I use Ansible a lot to automate and kind of wrangle the control of the nodes back to the people who have typically over time lost control. It's very easy to lose control of systems, especially as knowledge leaves your organization and things are poorly documented and stuff. So a big part of like what I try to show you guys how to do is like wrangle that information back. So wrangle back control, get back up on the stagecoach when the driver of the stagecoach has been shot, and now it's just kind of meandering through, and we got to get control of it again, right? Because things will work, systems will run just fine. This is true in Kubernetes. You can kill the nodes that run Kubernetes, and your Kubernetes workloads will still work, even though your API server and your scheduler are down, right? Same kind of idea. So sometimes we got to get control of it back. All right. So that was that lab. Let's pull up that work that we had. Where's our little drawing here? All right. So I'm going to link this out for anybody that wants it. I'm going to start a session. I'm going to copy the link. Here is the link on the YouTube side, and then on the Twitch side. On the Twitch side, you can't click it. You've got to copy it and post it out yourself. But I'm going to come here, and I'm going to back out a little bit, and I'm going to grab my version here. I'm going to move over here. And I'm going to drop some extra versions of it. So if people want to do this lab with me, you can. If you want to draw on here, you guys can get there. Also, if you simply go to that and then just save it to your machine, by the way, you can go down here and change it to dark mode. Because I know when you get in there, the first thing you're going to say is, oh, shoot, why isn't it in dark mode like Scott's? Dark mode's right here. So just change your theme to dark mode. It'll be dark for you. And then you can go right here and just save it to your machine. And you can just save it. I'm not going to change it, but you can just save it right away to whatever. So here's what we're doing for this lab. It says make a copy of this block somewhere on the page. And then you would grab, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to draw in that mode. And you guys can draw anywhere you want, even on mine. I don't care. And it says you have a 4-node cluster. All right, so it's 4-node cluster. We only built the 2 nodes, so we're going to have to use our imagination a little. And it says you run a process called Slurm on 3 of the nodes. You run a process called Slurm control daemon on the main node. The nodes communicate between themselves through a process called mungd, and they all share the same secret key from etc munge.key. So I might draw, I might draw this like this. I'm going to get my little pen here. Hopefully I don't push on the button this time. And then I go here. Maybe that'll be my 1 node. And then come over here. Get this. Maybe I just Control C and Control V that one, right? Right, and I move that over there. Move that over there. Whoops. Trying to do this with a pen, which isn't super. It's terrible. Stop it. Trying to do this with my pen. All right, fuck it. We'll do it with a mouse. Right, this is me right here, doing it live. Losing my crap over here on stream. All right, so here's my 3 nodes, right? Boom, and then my control plane up there. I can even go like this. I'll get Bill O'Reilly off of there. Control plane. And he is going to be on Slurm CTLD, right? CTLD. He's using Slurm control daemon. Down here, we're going to have, let's say, node 01. And he's going to have Slurm D, right? And then I can even come here. I can draw these. Boom. And again, you guys don't have to be great artists. The point of this isn't to be good as an artist. Maybe you are. Probably better than me. But can you convey the information that needs to be conveyed with this system, right? And how do these things communicate? Well, they communicate, right? He, through Slurm control daemon, is able to control Slurm D. So maybe that's something that I want to show, right? Maybe that's something I need to draw in some way, and I can play with these later. And then that's going to be something that I want to know. Again, I have no idea what people are drawing on the other screens, so it's kind of scary. But then maybe I can say, well, they communicate with each other. They communicate with each other in this other way, and maybe I even change the color of that, And and this is maybe Munge. So the Munge daemon is happening separately, right? And the Munge daemon, whoops, there we go. I always worry when I put stuff up here because people could put any number of terrible things up here. But now we maybe say that this is the Munge service, right? So maybe I double click here. I say Munge D. And then Munge, I know Munge has to be running on all my servers for communication to occur. What if I told you that sometimes I'll hear that a node isn't communicating with the other nodes, and then I'll go and I'll check Munge and Munge won't be running? That's a possible. Linge, it's very rarely people actually being, very rare that we actually have adults. Sometimes people will be doing all kinds of other stuff. That's good. That's actually pretty good. Somebody's drawing good stuff. And this is one of these things where sometimes we just want to get good with our tool. And look, I might clean this up before it ever pops up into one of our PowerPoints. But the point is, I can mock it up pretty quickly what we just did. And I think if any of you could slap something like that, at least basic together, you could very quickly in your head go, oh yeah, that is what we did. Or, oh, hey, on our own node, we also, I forgot this, but I also had Slurm running on my control plane because in our cluster we only had the 2. But it's important that you understand what your architecture was, right? So I want you guys to think about that if you're building this stuff, if you're doing this stuff. It's fun, right? It's fun to play with these labs, but it's also something that can be very valuable as a skill as an engineer. Because I guarantee you, if I just put a bunch of words up here, if I just did this and I went into a meeting, people would be like, oh, Scott's trying to explain some bullshit again. Scott's over there being an engineer, doing his little magic with his stuff up his sleeves, and I can't understand him. But if I instead come in like this and I go, guys, this is what we built. We got one control node. Make sure that node's always up. He'll kick jobs off to these other nodes. Maybe I make this a little cleaner. Maybe I make this look nicer by doing this or something. Maybe that's a better way of doing it, right? And again, like I'd play with this later, but the idea is I know, what processes are critical. I can even make these red and say like these are critical processes. They must be up. I could have a little legend up in the corner of like what's important, right? By the way, any of you that are on this with me, you can go in here and you can save this for yourself. System engineering jobs, I'm sure I have this as a requirement. Yeah, Kurt Killer, it can't hurt you to understand how some of your pieces work together, right? With other pieces and be able to draw this stuff out. So some of you, you might come in here and go, oh, that looks a lot more clean. Or maybe there's a way that I could express this better as a requirement. And then I could have, I can have a little whatever. And it doesn't have to be pretty. By the way, one of the cool things about this is one of the reasons I really like this is as you go in and you draw things, let's say I grab all of these, you can make it more sloppy. You can be like, you know what, I want this to look a little more hand drawn this time. And you can make everything kind of sloppy. Or you could be like, you know what? This is an architecture drawing. I need to make this thing crisp. And you can go, whoops, sloppiness. I went to architect. Let's go sloppy. And it kind of looks like a person drew this a little bit, right? So you can play with that. It all costs money. Hello, I just arrived and I'm aware that Linux exists. May I get a quick overview of today's lesson? Yeah, it all costs money. I was doing 2 things. This is over on the Twitch side. What are we doing? We did NFS and then we drew it out. And then we did Slurm, and we drew it out. That's all we're doing. There's different ways to think about things, and there's different levels maybe that you want to think of things as you learn them. We all learn things differently. Some people, like me, I can just sit down and read a book. I know a lot of people that can't do that. They're like, God, I hate reading. Some people, when they run, they have to have a podcast on or something. I don't need that, right? I can just go jog or do whatever. It doesn't bug me. But everybody learns and thinks through things differently. So my point in showing this, yeah, NFS and then Slurm, and then Munge is like a tool for Slurm. So yeah, that's what we were working on. It all costs money. And we were doing labs from the book. So we were in the book over here, answering these questions as we did things. And then we were actually we built the things out in the lab. And then we came over here and said, can I take the things that I have built and draw them out to show it to other people? Yeah, and Nano J, did I show you guys this? So you can go, let's say I take this and I save it, which I already have these down. And I tried to show this earlier, but I didn't do it right. So I'm just going to go File and open a file. And I'm going to go find, I know I have it in here. I'm going to go find my actual, where do I have it? I definitely have it somewhere. Maybe it's under stuff. Nope, it's not under stuff. Maybe it's under it should be under documents. It should definitely be under Linux group somewhere. And it shouldn't be under notes. No, it's not under notes. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Hold on. I'm going to find it this time. I thought it was always under streaming. Damn it. Well, anyways. Search the extent. Yeah, it should just be .excalidraw. Yeah, so the one that we were just working on, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, it is just a .excalidraw. I can come here and what was the one we were doing right now? We were doing Slurm challenge. So you can open your Slurm challenge, and by the way, change it to you can make it dark mode here by just changing the canvas background. This is a way to do it. Right? But then what you have to do typically is Control A everything in there and change that back to white. So then that's about as good as you can do it. But you can draw. My point is you can draw right here, and then you can still open these up later as well. Is it possible to rotate text? Yeah, you should be able to grab text, and then you should be able to rotate text. Yes, grab it at the top here like this, and rotate it. Yeah. You can rotate text. So you should be able to grab one of these and if you wanted to, and then Control Z to switch it back. Yeah. By the way, any of you that are doing this, then you could hit your snipping tool if you're on a Windows box or whatever your control whatever is on another box and just grab stuff down. Yeah, Excalidraw is one of the best things around for just quick and dirty. Like, this is fine. This is a perfectly fine little drawing of what we just did, and then you could think about it, and then if you needed to, if you had nothing, I tell you guys all the time, if you have nothing else on your resume, you have no college, you have no certifications, and not much job experience, but you want to show somebody you know Linux, well, shoot, you just did a lab on Linux for over an hour with me, and you could do this, and then you could say, hey, you know what, I don't have a whole lot of experience, but I've stood up a Munge scheduler, and somebody would say, show me, and you go, okay, well, here's my little drawing that I did. Don't print it out like that. They'll waste all your black ink. But you could even have it like in a maybe put it up on a GitHub or something with some images, and then you go, yeah. So what I did was I installed it. I went off of the document on the vendor's page. It's an open source tool. I set up the Slurm controller daemon. I set up the Slurm worker node daemons, the Slurm D daemons, and then I connected to it and did all the things I needed. And that's it. Yeah, it is open source. Yeah, I didn't even mention this, or I might have said this, but I didn't really bring it up here, is you could take these and you could run this locally on your own machine. If you don't trust them, even though they assert that they will never take your drawings, they assert that the only people that can ever get in the drawings with the encryption they have is the people that you share the link out to. But there you go. MSec, you passed your AWS Dev exam? Awesome. That's awesome. That's really cool. I know me and a few of the other guys have that AWS Dev. And that's awesome that you're another one, because now you can turn around and tell other people how to get ready for it. So that's really cool. I like that. And then you're going to put on the resume. Are you moving jobs, or are you just hanging out where you're at, MSec? So MSec said he just passed his, he or she, I imagine he. I imagine he, because on the YouTube side, I have 98.5% male audience. And I talked to my wife and I said, I guess I got what the guys want. It's super funny. Isam Ben asked if LFCS is any good. Can I tell you right now that LFCS is half off. So if you do want to take that test, it's half off from, yeah, and I think that is a good one. One of our other engineers just got that late last year, and you're moving into AWS engineering lead role. That's awesome. That's really awesome. LFCS I would definitely do if you have nothing else. I don't think it's a bad cert. I'm just saying it is a good cert to get into the Linux world. Yeah. So I might take the LFCS just because it's half off, and that's pretty palatable. The wife would probably be okay with me spending more on certs because I'm always getting certs. Oh, you want to get it, but it's hard to get them in your country. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I realize, like, with the Twitch side, it's almost always Americans and Europeans on here. But I realize with, like, how YouTube's been getting kind of popular, YouTube's kind of been I don't want to say blowing up for me, but I realize that people are all over, especially with my numbers at night. Like, we'll be sleeping over here and my numbers will still be really high because it's, you know, people from around the world kind of watching and doing this stuff. So, I mean, look, guys, the goal of this is to funnel you guys down into the Discord. The Discord is always going to be free. I'm never going to charge anything for the Discord. And you guys can always just hang out and talk shop with other engineers and like-minded people. Hey, Monkey Man, how's it going? Over on the Twitch side. But LFCS CKA was an excellent cert for me. In fact, I took a while to get my CKA, but then I turned around and I got my CKAD right at the same time for Isam Ben. When you go to do it, get the go to what's his name? Use Mumshad Manabeth. Yeah, Manabeth. He's on Code Cloud. He runs Code Cloud, but also his stuff is excellent. You can get his stuff on Udemy for like $20 or $25, and then he gives you a code in there to get into Code Cloud for free. So you don't have to buy the Code Cloud course. You just buy his Udemy course. You get that, and it's absolutely excellent. It's the standard for learning that stuff. It all costs money. You're a pizza delivery driver. Don't enjoy anything really. Looking for a career that allows me least effort to provide me with most finances. Is Linux the way to go? It also costs money. I can tell you, I'm not super stressed as a Linux engineer over the years. So I think Linux is a good way to get into the systems engineering world and then go do anything else that you find interesting. So I think Linux is, I think of Linux as like a base level for a lot of engineers, because you can take this and go off into data analytics and security, and all kinds of things come from learning this Linux stuff. So absolutely. Oh, you removed your Discord, Helio? Well, hopefully something. I mean, you don't have to use Discord. You can just hang out with us here. It's just, I tell you guys, Discord's the easiest way to get a hold of me if you ever need to, because you just message me or just pop a question up in Discord, and I got a fair amount of mods and engineers that I've worked with over the years that'll try to help you out. The LFCS was $395, but it's half off right now. Hold on, look. It's half off right now. I don't know if that's just for me, but I'm pretty sure I just got a thing in the mail, well, in an email that said it's half off right now. So I thought that it was half off for everybody. No, this is the AWS one. By the way, me and Fisherman. Fisherman, by the way, guys, Fisherman Guybro, he runs our bot on the Discord. He's the one you yell at if the bot's too mean to you. By the way, you can always do an !ask in our Discord, and the bot will try to go find answers for you. He and I were going to go and study for this one, the data engineer. This is a new AWS one, and this challenge is 33% off. So if any of you guys are interested in doing that. Thoughts on this cert path? AWS Solutions Architect Associate, SysOps, Solutions Architect Pro, DevOps. I would start with Certified Cloud Practitioner, only because this. Let me show you guys this. Hold on. So if you do the Certified Cloud Practitioner, that's $100, right? But your next cert is half off. So then you do your Certified Cloud Practitioner and then your Solutions Architect Associate, which is $150, and you get it for half off, so it's $75. So now for $175, you got two certs instead of $150 for one cert. So that's why I would start with Certified Cloud Practitioner. Also, when I took it, I did the Certified Cloud Practitioner, and then I turned around 6 days later and did the Solutions Architect Associate, and I passed them both. But it's Havco, you said it's they'll pay for all the training materials. That's really good. Yeah, my employer had paid for them all too when I did all mine. And if anybody cares, I have 5 of the AWS certs, and me and Fisherman are looking to maybe go get. This would be my 6th and his 7th right here. So this one is, I'm pretty sure, free for anybody. Let me see if this works for anybody. Hold on. Yeah. So this is free for anybody if anybody wants to do this one with us. So it all costs money. You said, where should you start? Like if you're just a starting engineer and you want to get into this, I would come over to Killer Coda for free, and I would find anybody interesting to you on Killer Coda. In my case, I think Linux is a great place to start. So there's this Powell guy. He's not me. I am this guy, Scott. But down here, I am Het Tanis, right? And I would go to any of the labs that are interesting to you, and I would just start doing labs and getting my hands on this stuff. Trying to get maybe a couple hundred commands a day into you. You can start with our Linux labs. We have other labs, too, that are kind of useful. Linux and Ansible labs are the ones that I mostly do. Staggeringly Exquisite asks, just out of curiosity, what sort of upkeep is typical for most certs? Is there a mandatory CPE as an expectation to retest? So typically, there's two ways that certs tend to go. Hands-on certs typically have to be recertified every 3 years. So things like your CKA, CKAD, LFCS, those have to be recerted every 3 years by going and sitting the new test. Things like my CISSP and my CCSP, those are more like management and knowledge type certs. So for those, I have to maintain 120 career. The CPEs are like career professional education. I have to maintain 120 hours a year of that. Is it a year? No, it's 120 over the course of 3 years. So it's only like 40 a year. But I do so much of that and studying for that and stuff that that's pretty easy. But yeah, those are the two ways typically. You either have to recert every 3 years, or you just have to keep maintaining CPEs. So it's 40 a year. Yeah, that's right. Although for me, I waited until the end and I had to put them all in. I actually did them on stream a few months back on the Twitch side, so that was kind of funny. All right. So I'm only going to stay on for a little while longer. I just wanted to give you guys, another option, another way to learn and think through things. And if these are useful to you, right? Like I know some people were doing them with us. So people were over here drawing and doing stuff. I don't even want to go look at that. But you can, if you want me to keep doing these and having these available and have questions with links like that, I will do that for you guys. Because that's a super easy thing for me to put together and then send out to Discord. And then people, one of the cool things about these links is if you come over here and you say save to, or you say, so we're on live collaboration, but if we export the image here, no, I don't want to do that. It's, I think it's in the live collaboration, but you can just save the link. Maybe it's save as, save to. Yeah, you can save to as a shareable link. That's what it is. So then anybody could download it and then you can just go use it. So yeah, may go on a webinar binge. So some of you guys were asking about AWS stuff. When you're getting ready for an AWS cert, do all the training. But one of the other things to do is go on YouTube, look up AWS reInvent, and go watch all of the stuff on that topic for the 2 or 3 days before you go take the cert. Because I promise you, most of the stuff in that cert comes from AWS reInvent and the frequently asked questions for services. If you go down, does the sidecar concept make sense? Linge, you said if you go down, does the sidecar concept make sense? Yeah, so typically when we talk sidecars, we're talking like another container next to a container inside of a pod or something like that, so we can get logging out or something like that. Diagram below. Yeah, I don't even know what this thing is next to me. I'm kind of terrified to go look at what's going on there. Yeah, Linux is fun, and then some kind of cats riding horses and stuff. But that looks right. This looks pretty good. People can draw on any of these things they want. You could have drawn on mine too if you guys wanted, because I have a copy of it or whatever. But yeah, that's that actually, that other one was pretty good too. But I think there's a mechanism for Slurm to run inside of containers. I haven't messed with it, but that would be kind of interesting. Could we spin up containers, run jobs, and then tear them down? Because that becomes much more effective for like Fargate workflows up in the cloud and stuff. And then we start to think, hey, I don't just have to run, because like I run giant clusters, 1,200 nodes, 2,600 nodes that are just big, beefy servers that are water cooled nowadays with. When I say beefy, I'm talking 512 cores and 2 terabytes of RAM per node. We're talking big, monstrous servers. And they're just always running. But what if it's a smaller workload, and instead of having to land on some of those nodes, we could just spin up containers in the cloud, run them, and then shut them down? That might be an efficient thing, and that might be effective. Yeah, this stream will be saved for anybody that needs it. It'll be on the Twitch side for 6 months, 2 months, and on the YouTube side, I think forever. So you guys are welcome to hang out here. And again, you guys are always welcome to hang out down in Discord. I'm going to drop off of here soon. We'll go right over to Rob probably. Rob's probably doing some good stuff. But for people on the YouTube with questions, make sure you guys hop in the Discord. Again, I'm not selling anything with Discord. It's just a bunch of engineers this is what we do, right? We try to get people into doing this. For Frequently asked questions was super useful, especially for the new exam. Has 18% of the content on troubleshooting. Yeah, MSec. That's no doubt. When I took my certified cloud practitioner and my solutions architect associate, there were a couple things that I just simply didn't know. And when I got out of there, I ran over to I went over to the service pages to see, and the questions that I was asked were directly off the frequently asked questions. That's one of the reasons I sell that so hard to people, is because, man, if you're trying to get ready for a cert, you got to do it. The certifications are going to be keyed in a way that the vendor says to do things. So AWS, they've got their blogs, they've got their reInvent videos, which are very technical on the exact way they do things. And then the frequently asked questions are exactly where a lot of that stuff comes from. So yeah, I'm glad that helped you a lot, MSec. That's really cool. And if you want to write up anything or tell anybody down the certifications channel, that's always super useful too. I always appreciate that stuff, because look, you guys are driving this, right? Like I'm just the sad face of this thing, right? I'm the guy who tries to tell you guys you can do it, and then you guys are the ones out doing stuff. I tell you guys all the time, like, when you're successful, it wasn't me doing it. It was you guys passing it with your own stuff, and then you go on and tell the other guys how to do it. So that's cool. All right. So let's drop off of here. I'll be back on later today. I'm also going to be down the Discord for our meeting. So if anybody wants to come and see how one of those little meetings are run, it's just basically a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. But I was a Toastmaster when I was younger, so I do understand parliamentary procedures and running a meeting. So that's kind of fun as well. So all right, let's go to end of stream. Let's find somebody to raid. I think we're going to raid Rob, because I think Rob's on right now. But for you guys on the YouTube, I definitely appreciate you guys coming by. You guys are welcome to hang out and do all that kind of stuff. Let's see, what's who's on the systems world side of things. It looks like, yeah, we'll go right over to Rob. All right, thanks for coming, guys. I will see some of you later today.